Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this online Forum Lab Climate Action Examples from the Global South of the World Forum for Democracy. My name is Sarah Djedro-Jordan. I'm a communication strategist, a social justice activist based in Brussels, and I will be moderating today's event for the next hour. So today's Forum Lab is part of the 12 months one question campaign, where we are analyzing the different aspects of the question posed by the 9th edition of the forum. And the question is, can democracy save the environment? The World Forum for Democracy is a Council of Europe initiative organized with the support and partnership of France, the Grand Est region, the Bas-Rhin department, and the city of Strasbourg. It is a unique platform for political decision makers, civil society, academics, journalists, the private sector, and the citizen activists to debate solutions for key challenges for democracy worldwide. So for those who are not familiar, the Council of Europe is a pan-European intergovernmental organization with HQ in Strasbourg, France, with 47 member states dedicated to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. So today's Forum Lab takes place during the month dedicated to inequalities, democracy, and climate change. As some of you might know, the Global South, marginalized and less advantaged communities are disproportionately affected by the social, health, and economic impacts of climate change and environmental deterioration. So today we'll have the privilege to hear about and learn from grassroots initiatives selected by the World Forum for Democracy from Africa and Asia. Our guest speakers will go through how their experiences facing the consequences of environmental challenges are also a way to empower their communities and countries. So to cover these challenges, we have 4 fascinating and inspiring panelists who will for sure provide loads of insights for all of us to reflect on. So the presentations are going to last about 40 minutes. After that, we'll have some time to have some questions and answers. And so we'll be joined by Lara Audi, who's a graduate student from Sciences Po Paris, who will join as a discussant to make sure that we have a dynamic Q&A session. So make sure to prepare your questions as you're watching. Feel free to drop any questions and queries in the chat box. And if you're watching this from Facebook, you can drop any of the questions in the comment section. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to our 4 speakers. The number 1, that will have a presentation. So each of the speaker will give a presentation of about 10 minutes. So the first one is Liberata Kawamala, who's the CEO of Liebe Green Innovation. The second one will be Nanda Noor, Sustainable Land Use Project Lead in Indonesia. The third one will be Dorcas Lukweza, who's a member of Campfed Association in Zambia. And the fourth one will be Fidel Mbilizi Mutimanwa from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we are going to start with Liberata. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to give a very quick description of Liebe Green to start with. So Liebe Green Innovation is an innovative social enterprise dedicated to the development of sustainable solutions to plastic pollution that hit Tanzania the hardest, and also the empowerment of disadvantaged groups, specifically in rural and tribal families. Liberata, welcome and thank you so much. I believe there was a little video that was meant to be played before your presentation.
I see many people are not aware of what can be done to solve the plastic pollution in Tanzania. So this motivates me to do more and more creating awareness to people. And what motivates me that people are eager to learn. They are eager to change their mindset. My name is Liberata Kawamara, the founder of Liebe Green Innovation in Tanzania. We do correction of waste plastics. We segregate, we treat them, and then we recycle them into different variable products. Some of our products, we take them as a trash fashion show, but other things that we do upcycling. And in technology, we do recycling of waste, and we manufacture some products that are being bought by manufacturing industry. We see that only 2% of plastics is being recycled in Tanzania. Now, what is 98% of plastic? That where is it going? It's going to the landfill and to the oceans. So it takes some time and the people to change their mindset on how they can use that plastics. So as a Libre Green Innovation, we are fighting plastic pollution that it is the hardest in Tanzania. Self-driven passion that I have that made me to push myself and to make someone like I can see that the landfills, we have a lot of plastics in schools. People are going to throwing everywhere. So I decided to do that because I have passion of environment, and I'm sure that through me and other individuals, we are able also to come together so that we can push all these things behind. Sometimes some people say that this is not African culture. For example, trash fashion show, something like this. Nobody can wear plastics. Yes, nobody can wear plastic. But what message are you getting from wearing plastic? It means that you can reuse the plastic to make other things. That's a message. But also the other challenge is also being trusted to the different organization when it comes when you're asking for partnership. Sometimes it seems like maybe we are young people, and to be trusted by other companies, it takes some time. And we need to change this challenge, because if you support me, you are not only one getting the impact, but the whole community around is getting the impact. Coronavirus has affected a lot of initiatives and the program that we had planned before. As it started, it was around March, I remember, and we had organized the trash fashion show on the same day. And we said, how could we do this? How we did is that we had to do the things online, because people could watch it from the online channels, and we could have more viewers, more than that people could come. So all Tanzanians, even outside the country, they could watch it from there. So we came with that idea, and we said let's host it online. And we are happy that we hosted it online, and the people viewed it, and we are successful.
Super. What a great video. Super, super inspiring. So Liberata, I'll let you take some more time. You have about more like 6 minutes to just tell us more about yourself, about the initiative, and anything that you'd like to share.
Okay, thank you. Can we hear me?
Yes, the sound is not great, but we can hear you.
As my name is Liberata Kamal, I'm from Tanzania. I'm working on sustainability and circular economy. Is clean. Apart from our initiatives, we do recycling of waste plastics, but also we do beach cleanups. We do women empowerment through handicraft makings. We do trash fashion as one of the education and awareness through those programs. And we do coverage. We go to different media that we can talk to people through media where we can't reach. So we are doing working with the government also. So we are trying to work outside the country, like one in Canada and one in the USA. So those are the ones that are concerned. We are not only one that we can do this, we can make the change, but everyone can do the change. We are trying to make everything possible so that we can cooperate and to make sure that everything is stays on.
Super. Okay, thank you so much, Liberata, for the presentation. The sound was not great, but I think we got to catch the most important part, and the video was super as well. Thank you so much. So we are now going to move on our next speaker, an invited guest, who's Nanda Noor, who's the Sustainable Land Use Project Lead for WRI Indonesia, which is an independent research organization dedicated to contributing to the socio-economic development of Indonesia in an inclusive and sustainable way. So Nanda, thank you so much for being with us today. Please take your time. You have a bit more than 10 minutes to introduce yourself and the different things that you work on. Thanks for being with us.
Yes, thanks, Sarah. I hope you can listen to my voice clearly.
It's super.
Here's I'm looking at my video, also good. Thanks again for the invitation. Hi, everyone. Hope you are always healthy anywhere you are in this world. And congratulations again for making this forum happening online, and also for Liberata for the great initiative, and also love your video. So yes, considering the technical difficulties, I cannot play my video, but I'm more than happy to share some slides. Again, this is Nanda. I'm joining in from Indonesia, which is now at 10:40 p.m. So yeah, it's a bit late, but feels great. Yes, let me see if I can share my screen. Yes. Sarah, can you let me know if you're looking at my slides now?
Yes, I am looking at your slide. It's perfect.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. So yes, everyone. So today I'm just going to share with you a bit about the kind of interrelationship between inequality, democracy, climate change, and how we can estimate individual carbon footprints and plan the actions to reduce it. And I'm going to use my own kind of project at WRI with zero emission application called MEC as a case in point. So before going deep into the application itself, wanted to show some kind of background saying that if you're looking at this picture right now, both are happening on the same day, but two different cities in the world, one at the global north and another at global south, which is exactly the topic is about. The thing is, those two pictures shows some kind of good awareness for climate change. People are going on the street, but can we also act more on solving climate crisis with our own hands, even if it's small? But if everyone does it together, then something could have changed. The fact is, the global climate momentum has always been here, but then at different scale and angle. But can we work together to make it bigger now and more? The specific context that I'm talking about is the important roles of cities. So in different places in the world, more than 50% of the population are living in cities, and it's gonna be more than 2/3 of them living in cities by 2050. And they also have very important roles where it accounts for more than 80% of GDP. So the relationship between environmental, social, and economic in cities are very, very important. But this picture shows my first point of democracy and equality in climate change, which is related with justice. But is it true? The point that I'm making is that we are looking at, in this picture, the difference between case of 1850 and 2011, where we had 6 times more humans, but then 163 times more emissions. So a very unequal number of emission per capita increase. An exponential unbalanced increase in emissions, population, and the stakeholders that help solve the climate crisis. We're looking now at the previous slide saying that, oh, there are more people in the cities. So there are many more emissions coming from cities. But then the people who are actually taking the impact of climate change are actually in rural areas. And more of people there are actually the safeguard of forests. They are protecting the environment, sometimes much better than people living in cities. So that's why this is called kind of environmental injustice, because people who are polluting more relatively are not doing enough compared to the people who are polluting less. That's kind of my first initial point that I need to make. But then, where should climate action even started? We're looking at this picture of 100% emissions globally, coming from different aspects of human life, starting from transportation, building, food waste, energy, land use, industry, and blah, 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 right? Now we have this one silver lining where all of these emission sources are deeply connected with our individual lifestyle and daily consumption. I'm going to use case in point today, which is transportation. Before we go deep into that, I wanted to share the disparate impact of climate change towards different aspects of the world, not just environment, but also health and also the economy. So for example, air pollution will cut 2.3 years of lifespans for Jakarta people. It's also called as short-lived super pollutants that are responsible for nearly half of global warming today. Water pollution, air pollution also affecting the water cycle, just like monsoon and disrupting rainfall patterns, including in Indonesia. The renewable energy yields are also 30% lower because of haze and dust. And also finally, the food yields are also reduced by 15 to 5% for different types of food. So all of this creates uncertainties, hence increasing risk for the business. But if you're looking at the potential number of that kind of emissions, we're looking at the left side of the picture now. So we're mentioning about the source of emissions, like the food that we eat, the clothes that we wear, electricity that we use, the transport that we use. All of them produces emissions and pollutants, which is increasing the number of CO2, SO2, NOx, CO, PM 2.5. And then on the right-hand side, there are, for example, tree planting activities, forest restoration that we are probably mostly common of. Each of the trees have their own sequestration capacity, and both of those numbers can be kind of matched with each other so that it can become an equal kind of equation. So the question is, if I plant 1 or 10 or 100 trees at my backyard or school or office, would it be enough to kind of reduce all of my emissions in my entire life, or in my entire year, or in my entire month? And if I want to do more climate action at home, what kind of step should I take? What kind of tree should I plant? And stuff like that. So that's how and why WRI Indonesia was developing a technical note, kind of a robust research, peer-reviewed internationally using mostly Indonesian science, to calculate for example, urban transport emissions, and also the sequestration capacity of trees, which also becomes the foundation for our projects related with, for example, this one, returning flight from Jakarta to Singapore that produces about 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide per person, be absorbed by planting 4 mangrove trees, for example, and making sure they are lasting for at least 10 years. All of these numbers are also not just about sequestering CO2, but also tree planting has their own benefits of improving water quality, timber products, soil health, food, even recreation, and in addition to air quality improvement as well. So all of these kind of activities are being developed into an application called MEC, an option for multi-stakeholder collaboration where people could learn what is emission and its sources, how to calculate individual emissions per day, act directly, reduce and sequester emissions, and help restore forests, especially its science in Indonesia. So the basic simple scheme is that individual Indonesians can, for example, crowdfund or crowd plant the trees using the help of tree planting and growing partners that are professional in managing the tree health, growth data, and provide an independent monitoring, and then where the climate action are impacted and emission reports. So this application is available for now in Indonesian language and with different kind of features, including transport, food, fashion calculation. Now, the next message about democracy and equality that I wanted to make is that we are giving fair opportunity for all as much as we can, because we start from just $1 to plant and grow trees. That's how we managed to collect in the last around 8 months when enough crowdfunding to plant around 27,000 trees that are trying to absorb 1.7 kilotons of carbon dioxide for the next 10-15 years. And this is the kind of progress that we are making and hope to be able to make it even further. The last point about equality and democracy that I want to make is equality and voice. Because what we are finding on the ground is that women, youth, and indigenous people are the key stakeholders in this initiative. Their aspiration for planting are heard. That's the kind of foundation. And the collaboration between CSOs and general public in 3 cities have been implemented. That's why you're looking at this picture right now. 5 out of 6 of the planters are women and youth. That's how they are best at protecting their environment, protecting their neighborhood, protecting their trees, and also reporting it back to the donators and people around Indonesia. So we're looking forward to plant more trees and sequester more emissions and also reduce the overall air pollution happening in Indonesia. My last slide will be to say the 4 things that we can do now to support climate action. One is, for example, reducing your emissions, because planting trees to sequester emissions should have been kind of a last resort, because we could firstly reduce emissions first by shifting or avoiding canceling unnecessary trips, for example. But then if it still happens, then we can plant trees to absorb that emissions. We can also give critical inputs to science, technology, and methods to even better calculate emissions. It could provide more benefits to the society. And lastly, but not the least, of course, share your stories with as many people as possible, family, community, organizations around you. That's it from my side. Thank you, Earth Warriors. We look forward to your questions, and hopefully it could give some overview of what's happening in Indonesia about inequality, democracy, and climate change. I'm giving the microphone back to Sarah. Thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity to share this.
Super, Nanda. Thank you so much. This was really a great presentation. I appreciate you. Thank you. So the next speaker that we're going to have is Dorcas Luqueza. But just before, I just want to have a quick reminder for all of our people watching and in the audience on Facebook or on other platforms. Make sure that you drop any questions that you have in the comment section or in the chat box so that we can have time at the end of the presentations to share all the questions with our speakers and make sure to have a dynamic time interacting with each other. So Dorcas Luqueza, member of CAMFED Association in Zambia. And so CAMFED stands for Campaign for Female Education, which is an international NGO founded in 1993 that has supported over 4 million children to go to school and develop a unique democratic network of more than 100,000 young educated African women. The association works in Ghana, Malawi, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So Dorcas, the floor is yours. Please take your time to explain to us a bit more about yourself and a bit more about the organization. Thank you.
Sure, thank you so much for this great opportunity. Yeah, before I can go and share my screen, let me just share a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about. So first of all, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll talk about the issues of climate change through the lens of my community. And then from there, I'm going to introduce the CAMFED Association of Young Women and how particularly these young women with deep experience of rural context are leading the climate change across Africa. And also I'll talk about this initiative's collaborative, how it respects the indigenous practices in terms of leading the climate action in our various communities. And then I'll end about what I'm doing as a student as well as a CAMFED Association member. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. Sorry, are you able to see my screen?
No, I can't. I don't think it's working for now. Yeah.
Okay, a minute. And
Perfect,
now?
Yes. Yes, it's perfect. I see the slides. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, my name is Dorcas Luqueza, and I was born and raised in the rural community of Nchelenge district. And I was raised in the family of smallholder farmers. We depended on land as for our daily needs as well as for everything that we really needed. Yeah, and growing up, we were affected by climate change in various ways, especially when it came to droughts that affected mainly maize, which is our main crop in Zambia. Yeah, and by the support that I got from the CONTEXTE organization, which is Campaign for Female Education, I completed my junior and secondary school education, and I joined the CONTEXTE Association, which is a group of women who were supported by the same organization, who are coming from the same background as I am. Yeah, so currently I'm a student here at Earth University. I'm pursuing an undergraduate degree in agricultural sciences and a MasterCard Foundation scholarship in partnership with CONTEXTE organization, which are these initiatives that are working to ensure that young women like myself are trained in climate smart agricultural practices. It's indeed a great honor to have been given this great opportunity to be here at Earth University, because I believe that education is such a great tool, and it has given me the confidence and the strength to even join this conversation. And I'm very passionate about promoting climate smart agriculture practices in my community, looking at where I'm coming from and also how much we have been affected as smallholder farmers. Yeah, and some of these challenges that impact mainly rural communities, such that they affect many things. The smallholder farmers are the least contributors to these problems, but we are the main people who are affected. And speaking from experience, these challenges really affect the home. Imagine the smallholder farmers depend on this small land for their produce, so that at the end of the day, they can gain something from it to support their children to go to school. And then at the end of the day, they can have something remaining at home. And now, if that dream is taken by some of these challenges that are brought by climate change, like pests as well as extreme floods and also droughts, it really shakes the home. It affects many things, especially children's concentration in school, and it takes them out of school. And I've witnessed that and also experienced that in some way or the other growing up as a smallholder farmer. Yeah, so these are some of the things that has motivated me to embark on this journey and promote climate smart agriculture practices in my community, and also making use of the knowledge that I've gotten from being a student here at Earth University in Costa Rica. Yeah, and on this journey, I'm not alone. I'm part of a network of over 1,077 young educated women across sub-Saharan Africa. We are working together to ensure that we tackle some of these big challenges, because we understand these challenges. We are coming from such communities. We believe that with that deep experience of these problems, we can be able to tackle all these challenges through agriculture, especially because mainly this affects the food security of a community, and agriculture is such a great tool that every time when you're having a conversation about food security, it cannot go without, talking about it. So that is something that has motivated us, and we are tackling some of these big challenges, including girls' exclusion from education because of the climate change. So our approach to all these issues is that we are collaborative. We work with different stakeholders in various communities, and we ensure that we respect indigenous practices and in our work with each and everyone. Yeah, and we empower small marginalized smallholder farmers so that they can be able to adopt some of these climate smart agriculture practices and build resilience in them to climate change. Because what we need is that there's food at the table, because what is missing whenever smallholder farmers are affected by climate change is that there's no food at the table. And for many, they don't even understand what it means, climate change. What it means to them is that they don't have food because most of their crops were destroyed by floods or maybe by pests, especially armyworms in Zambia. So these are things throughout my experiences of being a student here at Earth University, as well as a CONTEXTE Association member, to think about what I can be able to, to do for my community and ensure that there's, that strength and resilience to climate change, as well as, building the food security that is needed. Yeah, that is That is why I'm adding to my expertise to the solution. Yeah, so I'm currently exploring the potential use of bamboo in the construction of mobile aquaponic systems in order to produce, fresh fish and vegetables in my community. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm coming from a community basically known as Kashita. So in my village, we have always depended on catching fish from the river as well as farming. But in the recent years, because of various problems, we have experienced that there's a reduction of the amount of fish that people are catching, as well as there's so much use of chemical fertilizers on the vegetables because of the pests that have been prominent because of the changes in the temperatures and everything that has forced many of these farmers to resort in using much chemicals in their farming of the vegetables. So the objective of my initiative is to provide affordable quality nutrition in the rural communities in my village. And the issue is that we can be able to use a locally available material like bamboo. Yeah, so the community where I'm coming from, we have always had bamboo growing along the river, and before coming here as a student, I didn't even know that we can be able to use that material to enhance food security. So I've been inspired to think about being able to construct this aquaponic system so that it can serve as a food security, to create that strength in terms of providing food. So the target is to work with rural women so that they can be able to adopt this initiative of farming food in an organic way. Yeah, and also I'll be able to implement this idea at the Camfed Association Climate Smart Agriculture Center, which is to be implemented in Zambia. Like I mentioned earlier, as Camfed Association members, we are collaborative and we work with traditional leaders. Currently in Zambia, we have been recognized by the Chief Nkula of Muchinga province in Chinsali district of Zambia. So he has donated the land for us where we can be able to implement our first ever Climate Smart Agriculture Training Center. So the idea is to be incubated there in order to reach out to young women in Zambia who are part of the Camfed Association of over 5,000, so that together we can be able to reach out to 50,000 smallholder farmers during the period of 5 years, so that they can be able to adopt this system of farming. So just to talk a little bit about the aquaponic systems and how it works. So this is like cultivation of fish and vegetables in a constructed recirculating systems, which involves the use of natural bacteria to convert fish waste to plant nutrients. So in this system, there is no need of use of chemical fertilizers, neither does it involve the use of pesticides, because it's like we create an ecosystem where plants and vegetables are supporting each other. So the water that comes from the fish contains ammonia, which is one of the contaminants that contributes to climate change, we could say. So this ammonia is converted to nitrate, which is what the plant needs by the natural bacteria. So being able to create such a food system is motivating in the sense that even as we are going to be implementing, we're going to make use of bamboo, which is an available resource. Yeah, so as I was mentioning here, this is usually the normal system. In other systems, you can be able to use the PVC tubes, but in our system, the plan is to use bamboo. Yeah, and bamboo is one of the plants that works as a carbon sequestrator. So we'll be able to create this ecosystem where plants and fish are supporting each other, but at the same time, we'll be able to serve as a service where we'll be absorbing that carbon into the bamboo absorb the carbon into the soil. So, and also it stores it. So that's another thing that we are adding to that. So these are some of the challenges that I faced throughout my years of being part of the smallholder farmers. Yeah, and also as a student here at Earth University, I've been motivated and inspired to work with young and also women so that we can be able to promote food security in various communities using such kind of systems. Yeah, and also my work with the CONTEXTE association members is something that motivates me to continue, because I believe that I am not alone in this journey, and together we are going to tackle these big challenges that our communities are facing because of climate change. I believe that, education is such a great tool as well. It just empowers you to continue, and also wanting to empower other people who are also facing the same issue. As CONTEXTE association members, we reach out and support other young girls, especially in terms of learning about the consequences of climate change. Like currently in Zimbabwe, we are working to teach with the agricultural manual which has been implemented. We are teaching young children so that they can learn about the consequences of climate change, because it's something that affects us, and it's really important that we can be able to reach out and teach these issues. So thank you so much. It's indeed a great honor to be able to share my experiences as well as being part of this forum.
Great, Dorcas, thank you so much. This was amazing, and this really is a great example of how and why it's so important for the communities that are affected to be heard. And I think that so many association, organization, institution in the global north, could be inspired and learn from that. So thank you so much. The last speaker that we have is Fidel. Donc Fidel, tu peux te préparer. I'm going to be addressing Fidel in French because he's a French speaker. So Fidel Mbilizi Mutimanwa, who's the director of Pool Est de l'INAPICO. So l'INAPICO is a platform of networks and associations created by and for indigenous Pygmy people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. l'INAPICO's mission is to support the improvement of the living conditions of indigenous Pygmies and encourage the Congolese state to set up a national policy for them. Donc, Fidel, tu peux prendre ton temps, tu as un tout petit peu moins de 10 minutes à peu près pour te présenter le projet et nous dire un peu plus sur tout ça.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. Merci beaucoup. Moi, c'est Fidel Mbilizi Mutimanwa. Je suis le directeur pôle Est de la l'INAPICO, en fait. J'appartiens à la communauté autochtone Batois. Je voulais partager avec vous les activités réalisées dans le cadre du projet sur la restauration de la biodiversité, conservation et les changements climatiques avec les arbres à chenilles dans le village de Boele, dans le village de Boele et Boulama, territoire de Ndengue, en province. On peut passer, s'il vous plaît. Ok, je voudrais vous présenter les chenilles là qu'on a pu développer dans le cadre de ce projet. Les rôles, comme les chenilles jouent les rôles très importants sur le plan nutritif, économique et environnemental pour les peuples autochtones et les pygmées et les communautés locales. Et on peut passer, nous avons deux sortes de chenilles, voilà, chenilles rouges et chenilles bleues. Et je vais vous présenter le contexte et justification de ce projet, l'objectif et la réponse du projet aux problèmes environnementaux et aux problèmes sociaux et économiques et les perspectives d'avenir. On peut passer? Ok. Sur les contextes, l'aspect environnemental, il y avait une déforestation et dégradation croissante due à l'exploitation industrielle, artisanale, illégale de bois. Il y avait appauvrissement du sol par l'agriculture non durable, la perte de la biodiversité des terres, cultures et les PFNL, les produits forestiers non lignés. Et les écosystèmes forestiers dans la zone du projet ne se prêtaient pas actuellement à aucune activité sectorielle, agissant sur les causes directes de la déforestation et de la dégradation forestière, avec des impacts directs et tangibles sur la réduction des émissions et de la reconstitution forestière. Sur l'aspect social et discrimination des peuples autochtones et dans les activités de lutte contre les changements climatiques, ainsi que l'insuffisance de la prise en compte des droits spécifiques des peuples autochtones dans des politiques sectorielles liées à l'arrêt du plis. Il y a la perte de culture et l'insécurité alimentaire. Sur l'aspect économique, il y a pauvreté accrue des peuples autochtones par manque de moyens financiers, faibles revenus et absence des activités génératrices de revenus. On peut aller. OK. L'objectif de ce projet était de contribuer à la lutte contre les changements climatiques par la restauration du paysage forestier et la conservation de la biodiversité à travers tout en renforçant les capacités managériales et les moyens de subsistance des peuples autochtones pygmées et des communautés locales dans les villages de Bulama, Bokenge, Boele et Boalangombe, secteur de Bokatola, territoire d'Indengue en province de l'Équateur en République démocratique du Congo. Oui, on peut passer. Voilà, vous voyez l'état de déforestation et de dégradation et cause. Là, vous voyez l'agriculture itinérante sur Brilis. Comment on a coupé les arbres, il y avait des couverts forestiers. Et il y a sur la photo, la deuxième photo, là, la dégradation accrue de la forêt et de l'environnement. Il y a, vous voyez là à côté, l'appauvrissement du sol, où le sol ne produisait pas parce qu'il n'y avait pas les couverts forestiers et tout était vraiment dégradé. Et l'exploitation du bois, comment on a exploité abusivement d'une manière irrationnelle le bois dans la partie, dans cette partie, dans ces différents villages cités ici haut. On peut aller. Les réponses du projet, il y a le contexte, comme on l'avait dit, une déforestation croissante due à l'exploitation illégale des bois. Et nous avons trouvé le projet a apporté comme solution la restauration du couvert forestier par la plantation des arbres à chenilles. Et un autre problème, appauvrissement du sol par l'agriculture non durable. Le projet a apporté et utilisé des techniques et durables, la perte de la biodiversité des terres, promotion de l'agroforesterie, les reboisements, la mise en défense et la sédentarisation de l'agriculture et l'augmentation de la production du sol. Et il y avait la discrimination des peuples autochtones dans les activités de lutte contre les changements climatiques, perte de culture et insécurité alimentaire, où les projets apportés, on a fait la sensibilisation des communautés locales et des peuples autochtones et on les a impliqués dans toutes les étapes du projet, faire la promotion et le plaidoyer pour la reconnaissance légale des aires et territoires du patrimoine conservés par les peuples autochtones et communautés locales qu'on appelle les APAC, une nouvelle approche actuellement. Il y avait aussi la production de chenilles pour usage alimentaire pour lutter contre l'insécurité alimentaire. Et il y avait pauvreté accrue des peuples autochtones par manque de moyens financiers, faibles revenus, absence des activités génératrices de revenus. Où on a des projets voulaient promouvoir les activités génératrices de revenus, production et vente de chenilles à travers le chenille et faciliter l'accès plutôt au marché public. Oui, on peut aller. Voilà la photo là, les activités prioritaires réalisées dans les différentes localités Boele et Bulama, où on a fait la sensibilisation par l'approche clip et consentement libre et informé préalable dans les Boele, où on a informé la population sur les projets et comment on veut arriver à rehausser ou à relancer leur économie et lutter contre les changements climatiques. On a fait des sensibilisations, on a mené des sensibilisations, on a même mis en place des comités locaux de gestion pour ces hectares-là qu'on va mettre en place, qu'on va cultiver dans ces territoires. Et on a fait les clips dans tous les villages ciblés dans le projet et la sensibilisation et la mise en place des comités de gestion et dans tous les villages ciblés par les projets. Et si vous voyez ici les étapes de la plantation, on a fait les semis dans les villages de Bolama où il y avait l'appauvrissement du sol, où on a fait les couverts forestiers, donc les paillages pour que qu'on restaure quand même, qu'on arrive à restaurer les sols et que les sols soient productifs. Et on a fait les semis dans les villages de Boele, et où où on a disponibilisé un champ pour planter les arbres à chenilles pour lutter contre le changement climatique et relancer l'économie à travers les chenilles, l'économie des peuples autochtones et des communautés locales. Et si vous voyez sur la photo là, la maturité des arbres, Non, j'ai sauté un peu. Il y avait notre photo, si vous pouvez rentrer un peu. Vous pouvez rentrer. Il y a des activités où on a mis en place, voilà, merci beaucoup. On a doté les comités et la communauté avec les outils, les outils aratoires pour faire les plantations. Et vous voyez là, on a préparé la préparation des terrains sans pratiquer l'agriculture itinérante sur Brilis, la photo. Et là, dans tous les villages, donc, on a remis les outils aratoires pour permettre aux gens de travailler et de faire les champs. OK, on peut aller maintenant. On peut aller. On peut aller. Descendez. Voilà. Descendez encore. Voilà.
Fidèle, excuse-moi.
Oui.
Juste que tu saches si tu as encore 2 petites minutes, OK?
Oui.
Okay,
merci beaucoup, madame. Oui, madame, merci. Tara. Et là, vous voyez comment la maturité des arbres à chenilles, et où les arbres là qu'on a plantés, qui mesuraient 1,5 mètre de longueur, vous voyez là-bas, et comment les chenilles sont en train d'être produites au niveau de ces arbres qui ont eu la maturité. Vous voyez comment les chenilles sont venues maintenant se reproduire sur les arbres là à chenilles et pour permettre à la communauté d'avoir maintenant les chenilles afin de pouvoir relancer leurs activités génératrices de revenus. Là, les arbres qu'on a plantés sont là à chenilles et là, vous voyez comment les chenilles maintenant commencent à envahir l'arbre et se reproduire sur cet arbre-là à chenilles. Et là, c'est dans le cadre toujours de contribuer à la lutte contre le changement climatique et permettre à la communauté d'accéder ou de relancer leurs produits. Est-ce que vous pouvez aller? OK, il y a les 4 sortes d'arbres à chenilles plantés dans les 4 villages. Il y a les qu'on a en fait nommés dans leur nom, ce sont des noms vernaculaires, comme les bosengue, qui ont réussi 4 sortes de chenilles, les makonjo, les bilanga, les bokanga et les bilo. Il y a les mucholo, deuxième arbre, qui ont produit des sortes de chenilles, les bilo et les makonjo. Il y a les boloja, qui ont produit des sortes de chenilles, les bilo et les makonjo. Et les bokanga, qui ont produit des sortes de chenilles, les bilo et les makonjo. Donc, espèces, on peut le dire, les 4 espèces d'arbres qu'on a plantés, à chenilles qu'on a plantés dans ces espaces-là prévus. OK? Et on peut aller, merci. On a des perspectives d'avenir, au fait, comme augmenter le nombre d'hectares plantés de 8 à 200 hectares d'ici 2022 sur les 1000 hectares prévus. Et rechercher d'autres moyens financiers pour la mise en œuvre du plan d'action 2017-2022 de la LINAPICO et dupliquer les projets dans d'autres sites et d'autres provinces d'autres provinces et au niveau des autres provinces à travers le pays et la sous-région. Donc, partager cette expérience des arbres à chenilles pour la restauration de la biodiversité dans la sous-région, c'est très important parce que c'est une expérience qui a réussi en République démocratique du Congo. OK, on peut aller. Il y a la rentabilité économique du projet. Vous voyez là-bas comment le projet est très rentable sur le plan économique. Par exemple, la production de chenilles par arbre par année, 15 kilos. Là, c'est 15 kilos. Là, en termes, la production par ménage par année, en kilos, c'est 2625 kilos par ménage, par hectare. Et la production par hectare par année, c'est 9375 kilos par hectare. Et la production totale par année en kilos, c'est à peu près 131 250 kilos par année par hectare. Et la production totale pour les 5 ans qu'on a projeté le projet était de 656 250 kilos. Et vous voyez en termes maintenant, en termes économiques, en termes d'argent, le prix par kilo, c'était à 1,5 $ au niveau de l'équateur. Ça, c'est au niveau de l'équateur. La production de chenilles par arbre par année est de 22,5 $ par arbre et par année. Imaginez-vous, la production par ménage par année en dollars était évaluée à 3,937,5 $ et la production par hectare maintenant par année en dollars était évaluée à 14 062,5 $ américains. Donc par hectare, par ménage. Si un ménage arrivait à produire ou à cultiver ou à planter dans un hectare, les arbres à chenilles allaient recevoir plus de 14 062,5 $ américains. Et la production totale par année par ménage était évaluée à 196 875 $ américains. Et si vous voyez maintenant la production totale pour les 5 années en dollars, c'était évalué à 984 350 $ américains. Donc, les projets sur le plan économique étaient très, la perspective montre que le projet est très rentable sur le plan économique et ça peut aider à la communauté vivant dans les forêts, vivant aux alentours des aires protégées des forêts, de pouvoir relancer leur économie et de devenir et de limiter au fait les niveaux de dégradation ou les niveaux de restauration, plutôt de dégradation et de la pression sur la biodiversité.
Ok,
si
Fidèle,
maintenant ici les
Fidèle,
oui.
je suis désolée, il faut qu'on arrive à la conclusion parce qu'il faut qu'on ait encore du temps pour les questions et réponses. Hein?
Oui. Voilà les écoles, je suis à la fin presque, on peut aller. Voilà les écoles qui étaient aux alentours où les enfants étudiaient, il n'y avait pas de belles écoles. Voilà, avec ces projets, on peut arriver à avoir des infrastructures de base très sophistiquées qui réunissent toutes les conditions possibles. Et il y a même au niveau des soins, accès aux soins de qualité avec des infrastructures sanitaires qui répondent aux normes et standards internationaux. Et voilà la perspective avec les centres là non réhabilités. Et c'est ici où on voulait maintenant arriver à avoir de bonnes écoles et des infrastructures de bonne qualité. Merci pour votre attention. Accent Tissana, thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Fidèle, pour cette super présentation. C'était top. Je te remercie beaucoup. And so now I'm going to bring in Lara Aoudi, who's a graduate student from Sciences Po Paris, just for us to have a bit of conversation with all the speakers. Yes, and have a conclusion to the event.
Yeah, so thank you so much for all the speakers and for your very, very inspirational projects. I feel like I really want to thank you for all your work. My first question is for Fidèle, so it will be in French. Merci beaucoup pour votre présentation. Je pense que votre projet est vraiment particulier. Et je voulais savoir à quel point la crise de la COVID-19 impacte ou non votre travail et si oui, quelles sont les différentes stratégies qu'on mène à bien ce que vous faites en ce moment. Et ma deuxième question, c'est aussi, est-ce que vous avez des attentes par rapport au gouvernement? Est-ce que vous avez des financements de la République démocratique du Congo ou pas? Et, voilà, merci encore pour votre présentation.
Allô, vous êtes entrecoupé, s'il vous plaît. Je ne vous capte pas bien.
Est-ce que tu as entendu la question, Fidèle?
Non, c'est pourquoi je dis elle sortait entrecoupée.
Ok. Lara, si tu peux répéter.
Oui, j'avais juste demandé à quel point la crise du Covid-19 a impacté votre travail et si oui, quelles sont vos stratégies pour contourner les problèmes liés au Covid. Je ne sais pas si vous m'entendez bien.
Fidèle, tu as entendu?
Oui, merci beaucoup, Lara. En fait, la COVID, comme dans tout le monde entier, a impacté négativement au fait notre travail. Parce que, comme vous le savez, la RDC, c'est un continent plus grand. Les activités, parce que cette activité a été réalisée à plus ou moins 2 heures de vol de là où je suis actuellement. Et ça n'a pas permis, il y avait restriction de mouvement, il n'y avait pas liberté, et même on travaillait à la maison, et donc la COVID a impacté négativement notre travail, et surtout sur le plan financier. Et il n'y avait pas, comme vous le savez, les organisations des peuples autochtones n'ont pas assez de moyens. Et elles se recherchent toujours. Et beaucoup de partenaires, beaucoup d'activités ont connu des arrêts suite à ces restrictions. Et peut-être certains bailleurs de fonds qu'on avait, comme la Banque mondiale, à travers les projets PACEDEF, et les autres, la GIZ et les autres ont donné des instructions au fait de suspendre les activités qu'ils ont financées. Et donc, ça a perturbé tout le travail. Mais néanmoins, on a pu, les stratégies qu'on a mises en place, et on a essayé un peu de doter à chacun à la maison l'Internet, l'accès à l'Internet pour qu'on travaille en étant en distance et pour ne pas tout pénaliser. Et on a pu renforcer les capacités de nos agents de terrain partout où nous œuvrons, parce que nous sommes un réseau qui est dans toute la République. Avec nos membres, on a pu développer une stratégie de travailler en distance et de partager les rapports en distance. Et nos points focaux au niveau des terrains ont été dotés par les téléphones Android pour permettre au fait à avoir les informations et les différentes activités qui sont réalisées au niveau des terrains. Voilà la stratégie qu'on a mise en place pour répondre au fait, contourner l'impact là négatif sur notre travail lié à la COVID.
Merci beaucoup pour votre réponse. I also had another question during the beginning of the video by Liberata. She said that climate change and climate justice was not really an African culture. So I wanted to know how, coming from the Global South, do you do your work of sensitizing your population so that they are aware that actually climate change really affects us even more than the Global North? And yeah, how do you do your work of communication and educating people on how climate change affects them and that they need to be invested in climate justice? Thank you.
And this can be to any speaker who wants to answer.
Dorcas, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. Yeah, well, like I mentioned in my presentation, as Confed Association members, what we do is that we reach out to the schools through, this agriculture manual, which we implemented last year in Zimbabwe, the Confed Association members there. So what we do is that we start by teaching these young children that they can be able to learn about the effect of climate change, because these are some of the things that affect us. And we reach out to them through, because most of them, they are limited to internet and they do not have access to most of these platforms that we have had. So we take it personal, that we are a lot in various communities. So we go with posters, like currently with the COVID on the run, we also include those issues, and then we teach them through this manual as a guide that we have made. I don't know if that could be.
Super, thank you. Maybe Nanda, if you want to answer this one.
Yes, I will try, but Sarah, could you also please reiterate the question again? I was losing some of the connection.
Yes, I wanted to know how do you sensitize your communities and tell them that actually climate change really affects them, while a lot of people in the global south think that this is a north issue. How do you actually educate people? Yeah.
Okay, yes, thanks, I got it now. So, well, I believe there is no such thing as silver bullet in terms of educating anyone on this. So it really depends on the behavioral journey that we need to go through with almost every individuals that are dealing with this. But then what we know is because most of the people that are affected with our kind of education about climate change and how individual actions can help or contribute towards something, it really needs to go through both their minds and their hearts. So this is why the solution that we are trying to give involves a lot with numbers, with real kind of science and measurable impact, measurable sources of emissions, for example. And then also, but we are also trying to translate things that are sometimes complicated. Numbers are complicated and equations are complicated. How can we make sure it is become simple and easy to digest for people? I can give a quick example, like if you can imagine like 200 or 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide, like how much is that? Is that considered big or small? We often sometimes convert that into something more layman terms, like 200 kilograms of carbon dioxide is equal to using electricity to power, let's say, 1,000 handphones, or 1,000 smartphones. So people can imagine how much energy that have been used for that kind of particular activity. So that those kind of activities are what we are doing to make sure more people understand the impact or the scale of what they are doing. I hope that answers some of your what you're trying to ask.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Liberata, if you want to answer that, and then we'll just have the conclusion. So if you want to answer the question.
Yes, please. Now I'm back.
Super.
So, yes, so the question was asking, how do we educate people, especially people from the local level, that we needed to educate more. For example, as the Live a Green Innovation, we are focusing on our children. First of all, because the future is the young people. So we are focusing on children as a first thing. And secondly, we go to the local level, households. we're coming with different initiatives. For example, when the beach cleanups is not a sustainable solution, but how are we going to educate these people to make sure that they understand that maybe plastic pollution is it has a lot of effect in the community and the environment also. So the thing we do, we are, as Labor Innovation, we are coming with innovative initiatives like flash fashion shows, those that everybody can attend because everyone needs entertainment. So automatically it will come because it's changing a mindset of a person like 30 years, 20 years, it's difficult. So we have to come with innovative initiatives that these people can really understand that maybe plastic can be translated into something. So we are trying to beat the kind of use of the use of single use of plastic that we are focusing to educate that people that they can make opportunities through selling plastics. They can make opportunities through coming with different initiatives that can engage the community, engage everybody, from even a child. You know that I'm using this plastic, but it causes me some effects, so I should take it at home, maybe use it to plant a flower, or use it to plant maybe vegetables, or to plant something else. So the education is not needed to the community. Community engagement from the low level children to the people who are maybe 30 years, 40 years, those, or basically the big people. Yes, so the thing, how do we educate people? That's how we educate these people in terms of to understand the different outcomes, the effects on different initiatives.
Is it possible that I can add the point to my list to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. Real quick, but yes, you can.
Okay, yeah. As I was mentioning also, as for us, in agriculture sector, most of the smallholder farmers, they do not understand what these greenhouse gases are and how the effect of climate change and everything. So our focus is that we promote, these sustainable practices that increases the productivity, because those are the issues that they are seeing. Because for them, climate change means there's no food at the table. So what we ensure is that we promote sustainable practices that increases their productivity, and then at the end of the day, we are tackling the issue. They know that we are building the resilience in the climate change issues. Yeah, so that's maybe one point that I can add that we are doing.
Great. Thank you so much, Dorca. Thank you to Nanda, Liberata, Fidel. Merci beaucoup. Thanks to Lara as well for coming up with really good questions for us to conclude the event. This brings us to the end of today's Forum Lab, Climate Action Examples from the Global South. So we have a few more events coming up this month. The World Forum for Democracy invites you to join the webinar co-organized with the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. So that is going to be on Monday, the 29th of March, Environmental Rights and Climate Change in Europe, hearing the voices of minorities and indigenous people. And for some of you who are active in civic and activist organizations, you might be interested to join the workshop on self and collective care that's happening on Wednesday, 31st of March. As an activist myself, I can't stress enough the importance of self-care and community law, so make sure to pin this in your calendar. Also, make sure to visit the World Forum for Democracy website, that's www.democracy.org, for all the details and links to the upcoming events and initiatives. Thank you so much, everybody, for your presence, for your insights, for your presentations. Thanks a ton for the super speakers, and thanks to everybody who could make it. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you.